Here we go. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. and coming up, Kellen Moore replacements. Going to take a look at the top candidates to replace him as the next Eagles offensive coordinator, as Kellen Moore has officially taken the job to become the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints. Before we do all of that, be sure to lock us in and hit that subscribe button. Over the last 28 days, we have set a company record here at Chat Sports with 11,000 new subscribers. Thanks to everyone. I really mean that for supporting the show. We're over 110,000 subs, approaching 111K. And what you get when you hit that sub button, daily Eagles content, which is always informative, insightful, thought-provoking, entertaining, where you have a voice. So I hope that you join the party. All right, want to begin with Kevin Patullo. He is going to become one of the top candidates to replace Kellen Moore to be the Eagles offensive coordinator in 2025, currently serving as the associate head coach and pass game coordinator for Philadelphia. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, who I saw at the Super Bowl, and he was talking with a lot of people around the NFL, including Kevin Patullo and members of the Eagles organization, tweeting this out today. Look for Philadelphia associate head coach and pass game coordinator Kevin Patullo to receive strong consideration for both the Eagles and the Saints offensive coordinator job. So clearly, Kellen Moore likes him as well. Nick Sirianni has leaned on Patullo heavily the last 4 years in a variety of areas, and Patullo also developed a strong working relationship with new Saints coach Kellen Moore as they implemented the Eagles offense. Now, Patullo would have an opportunity to call plays with Philadelphia. Kellen Moore said in the lead up to the Super Bowl when people asked him about that Saints job, yes, I still want to call plays. So Patullo would not get that opportunity, I would imagine, with New Orleans. So as I mentioned, associate head coach, pass game coordinator for the Eagles. He's been with Sirianni going all the way back to 2018. When I talked with him a couple of days ago, we're about to play that interview, he credits Chan Gailey, longtime offensive mind in the National Football League, as one of his big offensive influences. Patullo played quarterback and wide receiver at South Florida. And Sirianni is about to explain, and this is from an interview last Thursday, the role of Patullo and how he's been his right-hand man, helping him with a lot of game preparation duties as far as putting game plans together, pretty much serving as an offensive coordinator, but also head coaching duties to assist Sirianni as well.
Kevin Patullo is a guy that we don't hear from often or really isn't talked about a lot because he doesn't have a coordinator title. But how important has he been to your success this year? Can you just talk about the relationship you two have, having been together for so long?
Yeah, very important to the success that we've had. He wears a lot of different hats. Helps me a lot with different things, with head coaching things. I can't tell you that I make a decision without saying to Kevin first, what do you think? That's in everything. That's in game. That's out of game. That's with scheduling. That's with offensive stuff. That's with game management stuff. And you lean on him a lot. And then him and Kellen. I mean, they're together at all times. Talking through the offensive stuff. And he's kind of that same sounding board for Kellen on the offensive side. This is what. How many years? 8 years with Kevin. That continuity is really important because he knows what I'm thinking in certain situations, how you want things to be taught, all those different things. So he's just been a great resource, for me the entire time, our success this year, but really our success that we've had since we've been here. Can't be great without the greatness of others, and that completely is definitely a fact with Kevin Patullo, and I trust him with everything. Got a ton of trust and faith with him. He's awesome.
And so that was Sirianni talking about Patullo, who clearly he's very close with. And once I heard that, I then approached Patullo and asked him a couple of follow-up questions from what Sirianni had to say. And here's my interview with the man who could very well become the next Eagles offensive coordinator.
Nick was talking earlier about how you've been his right-hand man for a little while. The casual fan doesn't really know your role or your name or how you handle things behind the scenes, but Nick said that sometimes he'll run head coaching managerial duties through you. So can you just explain your role and your relationship with Nick and how you help him through an assortment of things?
Yeah, I think since we got here in 21, him and I have worked very closely together. And some of that stuff's been, like I said, anything from an offensive role or a head coaching type role, and a lot of it can be whether it's staffing, whether it's decisions, personnel, scheduling, things like that. So it's really a lot of the day-to-day stuff that a head coach does. I've been very privileged to be a part of, which has been very, great for my career working forward. And then as far as the offensive stuff, since 21 as well, I've kind of been in the forefront with the offensive coordinator working on everything from day-to-day stuff to planning to the play calling stuff on game day and structuring things. So I've had a unique seat, and it's been great for my career. And wherever it goes, it goes. But I'm very fortunate to be the role I'm in and be trusted for what I do. And it's been a lot of fun working with Nick.
Of course, a lot of talk about Kellen getting that Saints job here in New Orleans, and your name has come up as a potential offensive coordinator candidate for 2025. I'm just curious, from a football nerd standpoint, what is your offensive philosophy? What do you value?
So really, it first comes down to what do the players do best. I learned that as a young coach. Chan Gailey was one of my mentors, and everywhere I was with him, we kind of just did what the players did best. And then from there, you just kind of build a system around the players. I mean, there really is no set system, I don't believe. I think it's what your players do best, and you just build it from there.
Last year, I think the Eagles were 32nd in pre-snap motion. That number's gone up a little bit. Why is it important to have pre-snap motion from a matchup standpoint?
Overall, the more you can do with motion, the more you can create leverage on a defense. So whether it's just moving somebody slightly or moving somebody a little bit more, or the speed of motion, it does create leverage on a defense. It creates conversation, and different things can happen. You don't want to do it just to do it. If it doesn't give you a benefit, you don't really want to do it because it can cause you problems as well on the offensive side. But I think it can definitely help in certain situations. You just have to be careful you're not overdoing it.
And I had to press him about that pre-snap motion because the Eagles were 32nd in pre-snap motion in 2023. I think part of that, also in 2022, they didn't run a lot of pre-snap motion either, was the Nick Sirianni influence. And that's why I think it's important for Philadelphia here. And I think Nick and Howie, they're going to think about this. They have to think about bringing in another voice from outside of the organization because it brings you fresh ideas. It brings you fresh concepts. A lot of the foundational elements of this offense are going to be the same. And we saw that carry over from previous years to this year, but Kellen Moore was able to add some new ideas, add some new wrinkles, and we saw it result in an Eagles offense which was so much better than last year's unit, which was disjointed. They ended up winning a Super Bowl. And so my top candidate personally is Vikings quarterbacks coach Josh McCown. He has said that he doesn't want to leave Minnesota until he gets a head coaching job. But if you're the Eagles, they pay their coordinators top dollar if they really want you. And if you're McCown, you're not going to call plays under Kevin O'Connell. You have an opportunity to call plays for Philadelphia, and you get to inherit this offensive line with a Super Bowl MVP quarterback with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley. If Josh McCown wants to become a head coach, he has an opportunity to bulk up his resume with the Eagles more so than Minnesota. And what McCown did with Sam Darnold in 2024 was so impressive. Everybody thought that Sam Darnold was cooked. He was a bust. That him having to start instead of J.J. McCarthy was going to result in a down year for Minnesota. Darnold was awesome up until the final two games. And I also like how McCown has worked under Kevin O'Connell, who I think is one of the top offensive minds and play callers in the NFL. That experience and those plays, those ideas, I think could do wonders with the Eagles offense. And he played in the NFL, did McCown, from 2002 to 2020, including stints with the Eagles in 2019 and 2020. So he saw everything imaginable at the NFL level, and I think he's one of the fast rising offensive minds in this league. Going to go outside of the box here with candidate number 3. This is a candidate who I talked about last year during last year's cycle. It's Texas State head coach G.J. Kinne. Might sound familiar to a lot of people out there. That's because he has ties to the Eagles organization. He has head coaching experience. So while he hasn't been an OC or a play caller at the NFL level, played quarterback at the NFL level, and has head coaching experience at the college level. Incarnate Ward and Texas State. Played for the Eagles, more of a practice squad training camp body from 2013 to 2015. Offensive assistant with the Eagles under Doug Peterson in 2019. As head coach, 28-12 record, went 8-5 this past year with Texas State. And in 2024, his offense, 36.5 points per game, 476.5 yards per game. So with that, I pose you this question. Who's your top choice to replace Kellen Moore? We have more names to go through, more analysis from yours truly, but share me a name or names down in the comment section right now. Our sponsor for today's Philadelphia Eagles now, our friends at Zbiotics. You see the QR code here to my left. Scan that or use that link right below me, zbiotics.com/chatsports to get 15% off. The product here is absolutely phenomenal. And have you ever skipped a workout because of drinks the night before? I want you to think about that, right? We've all been there. At least a lot of us have. Me too. If you're committed to your healthy routine this year, you need Zbiotics pre-alcohol. We all have busy lives these days. Can't afford to waste a day stuck on the couch because of a few drinks the night before. Zbiotics pre-alcohol is the answer we've all been waiting for. Let's face it. I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. Getting a little bit older, man. Longer in the tooth. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great day. That is until I found Zbiotics pre-alcohol, the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. So go to zbiotics.com/chatsports, scan the QR code on your screen to get 15% off your order when you use the code chatsports at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using our code, and they have a 100% money-back guarantee. If you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. zbiotics.com/chatsports. Link is hanging out down in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's Eagles Now. Next candidate here is Texans quarterbacks coach Jerod Johnson. And according to a report, the Eagles will request to interview him. And of note here, Philadelphia, after they moved on from Brian Johnson, interviewed 3 candidates last cycle. Jerod Johnson was one of them, Cliff Kingsbury the other, and Kellen Moore. They, of course, decided and opted to go with Kellen Moore. Johnson did not land the gig. Did play quarterback at Texas A&M, has helped develop C.J. Stroud, one of the top young quarterbacks in the league, even though he had a little bit of a sophomore slump. He was with the Eagles in training camp, was Johnson, in 2011, with Nick Sirianni in 2020, and so has some ties and familiarity with Nick, with Kevin O'Connell in 2022. So under Kevin O'Connell, you trust him as an offensive mind. D'Amico Ryans brought him onto his staff. D'Amico's one of the top young coaches in the league. Mufasa, a former Eagle. And so this is also a candidate here who's starting to gather some momentum. And we'll see if he becomes the next play caller for Philadelphia here. Then there's Frank Reich, former head coach of the Indianapolis Colts and the Carolina Panthers last year during the 2023 campaign. He was let go. He was the Eagles' offensive coordinator when they won Super Bowl 52 during the 2017 season. And my thoughts on Reich: Sirianni loves him. He's Nick's mentor. Nick talks about him all the time. I have concerns about Reich not bringing in fresh ideas and modern concepts. I think it's really important to adapt and evolve your offense. I'm not sure that Reich would help the Eagles do that. I'm not saying he's archaic by any means, but him and Sirianni see the game the same way. I want some fresh ideas here, but Reich has plenty of offensive coordinator and head coaching experience. The plus here with hiring him, you can have some stability at the offensive coordinator spot because Frank Reich is not going to be a head coach again. Furthermore, There's Darrell Bevell, who's on the Miami Dolphins staff. He has experience calling plays in his NFL career. Those Dolphins offenses have been pretty fun and high octane. Bobby Slowik is the former Texans OC who was just let go a couple of weeks ago. Marcus Brady has familiarity with Nick Sirianni from his time with the Colts. He's currently on that Chargers staff, pass game coordinator. Dave Girardi is the Kansas City Chiefs quarterbacks coach. Andy Reid disciple, always attractive to me. There's Mike LaFluer, who's the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, but does not call plays for the Rams because Sean McVay does have play calling experience, though, when he was with the New York Jets. Matt Nagy is the Chiefs offensive coordinator. Plenty of experience for him calling plays, and of course, the former head coach of the Chicago Bears. T. Martin has helped to develop Lamar Jackson, and he's helped Lamar become an MVP in this league, former player in the National Football League. One of the young up-and-coming coaches is Will Stein, who's the play caller for Oregon. They've had some of the best offenses in college football during his watch. Charlie Weis Jr. is young, only in his 30s, but he's the Ole Miss OC under Lane Kiffin. Those offenses have been really good. And then Doug Nussmeier. He is the Eagles quarterbacks coach and a coach who Kellen Moore could bring with him to be the OC with the New Orleans Saints. Before we dip on out, be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. I put out so much Eagles content on my social media pages in addition to the long-form content here on YouTube.